And you're live in 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you're up.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the regular meeting of the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Kincardine at 5 o'clock, February 6, 2023, in the council chambers of the Municipal Administration Center. Each of us have a history formed by our own experiences and upon those of our ancestors, and for these experiences, we are grateful. Part of the municipality's history is that we are on the traditional lands and treaty territory of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation. And the land on which we live has a historical story, as do the waters whose shores were close by. So we'd like to express our gratitude to the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, who in the past and the present preserved the traditional lands while being an important part in building our community, our province, and our nation. And as we share responsibilities, it is our desire to learn and acknowledge this history and appreciate the contributions and reconcile with the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, the Métis Nation of Ontario, and the historic Saugeen Métis. Roll call this evening. Deputy Mayor Clark.
Present.
Councillor Blackwell.
Present.
Councillor Kavanaugh.
Present.
Councillor Hinchberger.
Present.
Councillor Kennedy.
Present.
Councillor Prenger. Councillor Steinoff Gray. And Councillor Stewart.
Present.
Also like to acknowledge our staff that's present here this evening, and we have many interested members of the public in our gallery this evening. Welcome. Thank you for taking part of this municipal governance process. Ask if there are any amendments, additions, deletions to or from the agenda by council members. Councillor Stewart, please.
Through the chair, I'd like to add a motion. I guess it'd be 7A, I believe, that council requests the staff to provide an
Okay,
update.
Councillor Stewart, when we get to motions, then you're just announcing the amendment, and we'll get that too when we come to the motion section.
No, you have to do a move and a second after.
Yeah, but we will do, but to add the, that he's got a motion. You don't hear the motion though, do you?
No, he's not doing notice motion on status.
You just add,
Actually.
Yeah, add this motion.
yeah, so that would be 7, 1, 7.2. Okay,
But we have to move in a second.
yeah. So there's a request by Councillor Stewart, moved by Councillor Stewart to add a motion to the agenda. Is there a seconder for that motion, for that motion to add a motion to the agenda? Second by Councillor Hinchberger. Is there any discussion? All in favor of that motion? That's carried. Just a note to council members, if there's any members with the pecuniary interest, they should declare it now or as the time that it arises in the agenda, please. Public forum, are there any registrants for public forum this evening? Seeing none. 5, adoption of minutes from the regular and special minutes, special meetings of council. Clerk, please.
Moved by Andrea Clark, seconded by Rory Kavanaugh, that the minutes of the council meetings held on January 18th, January 23rd, and January 25th, 2023 be adopted as printed.
You've heard the motion. Is there any discussion? All in favor? And that's carried. No presentations or petitions this evening? None? Motions and notice of motion. 7.2. Motion by Councillor Stewart, please.
Thank you very much. And through you, Chair, my motion tonight is that council requests the staff to provide an updated report on all outstanding legal claims against the municipality and to report back to council by the end of March 2023.
You've heard the motion. Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Hinchberger, discussion, please. Councillor Stewart.
Just wanted to inform the council why we're bringing this or why I brought it up to the attention. In our last meeting, it was asked a question and I think it's important as part of your training to understand there is some claims against us. And that I thought it would be important to actually know those claims before we actually maybe get introduced to another one. So I'm just asking basically for a quick update report by the staff and to report back to us within the next 2 months and just give us a quick update. Thank you.
Would you like to comment on the capacity or staff to do that? You know, we can ask, but we can't tell staff what to do. That's your job. So if you could just give us some guidance to that regard, please.
Certainly through you, Mayor Craig. I think that's something we can accommodate to give an update to council as to current claims. I think that would be something we can do. Appreciate that.
Any further discussion? Councillor Stewart, did you provide a copy of that motion to our clerk?
Yes, I did.
Okay, thank you very much for doing that. All in favor of the motion? Yes. That's carried. Any bylaws to consider? Seeing none. Just before we move into committee of the whole, I'd like to alert council, our staff and folks in the gallery that we have a scheduled 6 o'clock closed session with to receive some legal advice, which we need to go into closed for. That has been pre-scheduled. So regardless of where we are in committee of whole at 6 o'clock, we will be adjourning that meeting to go into a closed session. So just so you're aware, it's not my intent to offend anybody partway through their discussion. Oh, stop now. That's what we need to do. So we need a mover and seconder that we, motion clerk, please, for motion to go into committee of the whole.
Moved by Amanda Steinhoff Gray, seconded by Doug Kennedy, that council move into committee of the whole and upon completion, return to council.
All in favor? And that's carried. Committee of the whole, we have the same roll call. Like to call the committee of the whole meeting to order at 5:06, February 6th in the council chambers. Are there any additions, amendments to the agenda as proposed? Seeing none, just remind you to declare pecuniary interest if or when it arrives during the meeting. And we have a resolution from the clerk, please.
Moved by Beth Blackwell, seconded by Bill Stewart, that the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting held on January 23rd, 2023 be adopted as printed.
Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. All right, I'd like to welcome Becky Smith, Director from the Center for Municipal Innovation, to provide an update on the Municipal Innovation Council. Welcome, Ms. Smith. It's good to have you here this evening.
And then just forward and backward for your presentation. I'll just load it here.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Deputy Mayor, councillors, staff. Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. I'm happy to be here on behalf of the Municipal Innovation Council to share some of the history on how and why we were formed, and also share some of the success stories that we've had over the last 3 years. My name is Becky Smith. I've been leading the work at the MIC for the last year and a half. I was born and raised just outside of Port Elgin, where I still live with my husband and 2 children. Prior to my work at the MIC, I worked for the Nuclear Waste Management Organization for about 3 years, and also for our local Member of Parliament for about 10 years before that. So the MIC was formed back in 2020 when 8 municipalities, including the municipality of Kincardine, came together to find savings, efficiencies, deliver services better to residents, all with the goal of building smarter, stronger, more resilient communities. And the idea for the MIC really started around the table with the local CAOs. This was probably back in 2016, 2017, but I think just having discussions around that table, really looking at ways they could collaborate to identify savings, work together on efficiencies, and to avoid duplication. And it was quite simply just a recognition that we needed all to work together. Some of the barriers that prevented that work from happening in the past was just a lack of assigned staff and funding to advance collaborative projects. So at the time, there was a decision made to form the MIC, hire a dedicated staff person that could foster collaboration and lead this work. And at the time, the provincial government in Ontario made available municipal modernization money. And so many of the municipalities used that municipal modernization money to fund the MIC. So back in 2020, 7 of the 8 lower tiers in the County of Bruce, as well as the upper tier, the County of Bruce, signed on to the MIC as a 3-year pilot project. At the time, the Nuclear Innovation Institute was also forming, that provided the opportunity to leverage the NII and the collaborative desire to advance this project. So for the NII, municipal innovation has always been a key component of what the NII will deliver and share with our communities. The MIC operates and works out of the Nuclear Innovation Institute in Port Elgin, and having access to those resources at the NII has really been a key component to the MIC's success over the last 3 years. So when the MIC was first formed in 2020, we brought all the stakeholders came together. They officially launched the MIC, and they held a bit of a priority setting session. And these were the original areas of focus that the MIC decided to focus on. So construction and infrastructure, information technology and digital services, municipal sustainability, as well as livable communities. And the MIC has had remarkable success over the 3-year pilot and has really proven to be a model that any community across Canada could benefit from. It's allowed us to tackle problems collectively that we just simply couldn't do on our own. Over the 3-year pilot, we've secured external funding for almost every project that we've undertaken. For every MIC dollar invested, we've been able to double that through external funding sources, bringing the total value delivered to $1.25 million. And just to put that into context, so Kincardine, the annual contribution that Kincardine makes to the MIC is just over $26,000 a year. The funding formula that was originally agreed upon for the MIC was that members would pay a $12,000 base fee, and then depending on the number of households in your community, you would pay $2.50 per household to be a member of the MIC. So this slide kind of captures a high-level summary of some of the work that we've done at the MIC. We've done 2 service reviews. Those were both fully funded through the Municipal Modernization Program, so we didn't use any MIC funding for those projects. We really looked at how each municipality delivers services and compared those across all of the members. So around waste management, garbage collection, recycling, all of those types of things. And then last year, we did a lot of work around information technology. So we launched an IT service review January of last year. We wrapped that up about the middle of March. And then we've been slowly knocking recommendations off of that report since we established kind of that joint IT steering committee across all of the members. But we've identified cost savings in many areas, including hardware and telecommunications. I know Brockton late last year switched over their telecommunications, are now saving just under $12,000 a year moving forward, just from one part of that IT service review. But the collective savings, if we implement all recommendations in the roadmap that we were provided through that work, will be over $500,000 over that 5-year period. We also did a mapping project. So we partnered with Ecobia AI, which is a startup out of the Mars Center in Toronto. Using artificial intelligence and machine learning, they were able to produce a digital representation of Bruce County. So by using this technology, we've saved about 14,000 hours of staff time, which works out to be about $500,000 in savings for that project as well. The Smart Beach project, you see the logo on there. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in the next few slides. We also developed a MIT Solutions Portal is what we're calling it. It's really an internal tool for CAOs and some of their staff to use to help create some of those day-to-day efficiencies. And then we held a number of training sessions last year. the first quarter, we did some online training around equity, diversity, and inclusion. I know that Kincardine is doing a lot of great work in that area. We had some training sessions around mental health in the workplace, as well as later in the year, in December, we just wrapped up some cultural awareness training sessions around the local Indigenous history with Trish Meekins. But really, this is just a snapshot of kind of what we've done over the 3 years. We do have an MIC impact report that went to councils last July, but I'd be happy to share that with this council as well if you wanted a bit more detail on that. And then just last week, we had an MIC meeting and we had some money left over from our 2020 budget. So we were able to approve a food waste diversion pilot with the MIC members. So stay tuned for more information on that. But I just want to highlight that by working together and leveraging those economies of scale with this new food waste diversion project, every municipality will save $7,000 by working together and realizing those economies of scale for that project. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about the Smart Beach project because this is something that, really Kincardine has seen a lot of benefit from as an MIC project. It is a 3-year pilot project. The end goal of this project is to provide beach goers with up-to-date information on water conditions. The MIC launched the Smart Beach project at Station Beach in Kincardine in May of last year, and this project has been a huge success. This is really the first of its kind in North America. Just before Christmas, we've had outreach really from around the world with people that are interested and curious about what we're doing with this project. Just before Christmas, I had a call from the U.S. National Weather Service as well as the U.S. Coast Guard. So I know there's many people that are following the progress of this project and are really looking forward to seeing the outcome at the end of the 3-year pilot. I will provide a bit of information on this pilot project today. But Dr. Chris Hauser, who is the lead researcher on this project, and I are planning to come back to council on May the 1st to really provide you with a thorough overview on the technical side, because I am not the technical expert on this project, about what we did last year, the data that they collected, what the team has done over the winter. We'll be summarizing and wrapping that work up about the beginning of April, and then really can provide you a look ahead of what we're going to, what to expect in year 2 and year 3 as we advance the project. So a Smart Beach uses innovative technologies to collect and analyze water and weather conditions that will develop a system to provide beachgoers as well as local EMS with real-time information on water conditions, including rough surf and the presence of rip currents, so that we can stay safe at the beach. So the MIC, we partnered with Dr. Chris Hauser, who you see there. He is an expert in coastal geomorphology. I didn't really know what that even meant until I met Dr. Hauser, but he is quite knowledgeable. He has experience in coastal communities around the world, including Costa Rica, Texas, Florida, Prince Edward County, and now here along the Great Lakes. Over the next 3 years, we're hoping to expand this to other communities in the MIC with really the end goal of scaling this across the Great Lakes. So I wanted to provide a bit of information about how we're kind of collecting data. It uses a number of innovative technologies, including artificial intelligence, rip current detection, wireless communications, remote sensing, machine learning, the Internet of Things, and public education and awareness around water hazards. So,
Becky, you've got a couple of minutes left before we go to questions. Okay, so just.
Yeah, I've got a couple more slides. I'll be.
All right, thank you.
So year 1 really involved a lot of data collection, public awareness and education. And we also had a couple local students on the ground talking to people, asking them where they were from, where they were getting information about water conditions. And that's what the Smart Teach team is really analyzing over the winter time. This next slide, I don't know if I can play the video directly from here. I just wanted to share a little video about some of the content that we've created for MIC members. So that's just kind of one piece of the municipal toolkit that we have provided to members, but we're looking to also build on that this summer. Okay, I'm just having a bit of trouble. Okay, there we go. This is just a graph of the significant wave height that they measured at Station Beach in the month of September. These are some of the things that you can expect this year. So this year will really be helping to figure out what that communication tool looks like, continue to collect data, and potentially expand to another beach in the MIC member municipalities. I think this is one of my last slides. I just wanted to share this. On Tuesday, December the 6th, we had a priority planning session with MIC members, some of the senior municipal leaders, really to set priorities for the next year. I think that was evident from that workshop is that all of our municipalities are still feeling the impacts of COVID-19. We're adapting to rapid population growth. We're facing higher inflation, interest rates, rising fuel costs, adapting to climate change, aging populations, and a recognition that municipal staff are spending a great deal of time on issues outside of municipal jurisdiction. So there was a common interest in collaborating around 5 of those areas that you see on the slide right there. We had a meeting last week, and I think there's really a strong desire to build out and clearly define our strategic pillars this year so that to ensure that we're financially sustainable, so that we're not coming back to councils every year and asking more funding. Where can we get funding outside of the public sector, really to look at private sector funding, but also to ensure that the MIC can be sustainable. So your CAO is the MIC representative at the table. We do share MIC minutes with member councils, and we also share a quarterly newsletter to keep everyone up to date. So thank you for the opportunity today. I will be back on May the 1st with Dr. Hauser, but I'd be happy to take any questions.
You just packed a whole lot into 10 minutes, Ms. Smith. Thank you so much. Are there any questions from council for Ms. Smith? Councillor Steinhoff Gray and then Councillor Stewart, please.
I have 2. So I'm going to pivot. One of my first questions when I was looking at the recommendations that came out of the MIC Joint IT Business Analysis Final Report, a lot of these seem to be for the 585K savings we have to do collaboratively. We won't hit those targets unless we take on a joint initiative. So we can't just, the municipality of Kincardine alone can't do that. So do you have next steps? Have you already started that for how we're going to get some of those items rolling where it needs to be done cohesively with our neighboring municipalities?
Yeah, so some of those initial cost savings can be recognized immediately. We don't need to take on collaborative work there, but we have one of the first recommendations out of that report was to establish a joint IT steering committee, because at that time there was no cross municipal group that kind of shared best practices and worked together on things. I know in some areas within, like for instance in waste management, there is a quarterly group that meets, and at that time there was no IT group that did. So we established that group, and that group is the kind of the avenue to help advance that work.
So yeah, the ones I was looking at was obviously with joint purchasing of software and hardware, because you're going to get better cost savings doing that. So I wanted to understand where we were from that perspective, and particularly with cybersecurity, if we're sharing infrastructure, and then the disaster recovery program, because if we have the same failover location, it's going to be cheaper. So I'd love more details on that. I don't want to put you on the spot now. And then my other question was just pertaining to the water. The smart water, the smart beaches, that to me is phenomenal. Like even having a barcode scanner so people can scan it and load the app. So I'm assuming that's application based.
Yeah, I don't know if we've quite determined that yet. And I also forgot to mention during the presentation too, is that we've had an opportunity to work with Rogers 5G Create Lab. So we're going to be going through a few workshops with them to really come up with some kind of proof of concept that we can test out and engage with people on this summer to see if it works.
So
or
it's not live yet.
It is not live yet, no.
And we don't have a target? Or do we have a target for?
To really have that. So I think by the end of the 3-year pilot is really when we can say we've got something that we think is going to work across the Great Lakes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Stewart, please.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. Thank God we have an IT expert on our council. Thank you very much. That really helps us out. Good presentation. I actually have 2 questions, one to our staff. You mentioned the 585,000 gets all exciting and everything. Was there any savings to us in 2022?
You know the answer to that, Ms. Smith?
I don't know specifically for Kincardine, no.
Perhaps we can ask staff sometime in a future meeting to identify if there's been any municipal savings in that regard. Second question, please, Bill.
Thank you very much. And through you, Chair, too, Becky. The Smart Beach funding, it looks like they have a fairly aggressive program for year 2. Who's funding that? Are they funding it? Are you funding it through your grants, the MIC? Is there any cost to the municipality in 2023? Because our budgets are getting a little tight.
Yes, that's one thing that I have heard. So I would say it was before I came onto the MIC, so probably 2011, that the MIC committed $125,000 to the Smart Beach project. That funding was transferred to the County of Bruce. The County of Bruce and Dr. Hauser then applied for My Tax Accelerate funding, and they received, I think it was $285,000 from My Tax to run the 3-year pilot. So we have a total of, I think it's like almost $400,000. All that money has already been committed. So we'll be running through everything you've seen there on year 2 will already be funded. The summer students are funded through My Tax. If there are other things over and above that, like promotional items or, printing of flyers or something, we may ask the community to contribute to that. But right now, the program is fully funded for the 3 years.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Smith, thanks so much for coming tonight to update us on the work that the Municipal Innovation Council is doing. We look forward to hearing more innovative projects in the future.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
All right, I'd like to invite Brent and Mark to come up if there's, or Brent, just by yourself.
Just one for now.
You can do the presentation and call on whomever you need. Brent is representing Ontario Power Generation. Welcome, Brent.
Thank you. You can hear me okay? Perfect. No rush. We're good. Perfect. Good evening, Your Worship, members of council. My name is Brent Fisher. I'm the Senior Manager of Corporate Relations and Projects with Ontario Power Generation here in Bruce County. I know that I might be a new face to council, and there are several new faces around council tables. However, Ontario Power Generation and the municipality of Kincardine have a long and positive history in working together for the betterment of our region and the province. So thank you for the opportunity to be here this evening. Accompanying me here today in council chambers is Mark Welt. He's our Director of Western Operations. And joining us online, I hope, as Jason Van Wart, Senior Vice President of Nuclear Sustainability at OPG and President of Laurentis Energy Partners, Nuala Zietsma, Director of Stakeholder Relations for Nuclear Sustainability Services, and Caitlin Neville, Senior Communications Advisor. In the interest of time, I'll skip over the agenda and just keep going. A little bit about Ontario Power Generation. OPG operates nuclear facilities in Pickering and Darlington, and we own the Bruce site operated by Bruce Power. We also operate 3 sites dedicated to the safe storage of nuclear materials, including the Western site here within the municipality of Kincardine. Together, our facilities provide 60% of Ontario's energy needs, with 50% of that coming from nuclear energy. We understand what it takes and what it means to operate in partnership with local and Indigenous communities, and we understand the obligations to operate safely and responsibly at all of our sites in the province. OPG's climate change plan, released in 2020, commits OPG to being a net zero company by 2040 and helping the Canadian economy to reach net zero by 2050. This has been stated by has been stated by the Natural Resources of Canada. No credible path to net zero by 2050 exists without nuclear power generation. Renewables such as wind and solar cannot do the job alone. They are a part of the clean energy mix, but they only work when the wind blows and the sun shines. We need a reliable base load of electricity. We need nuclear energy to keep our hospitals, our schools, and our homes running 24/7. In 2021, Ontario Power Generation launched its first ever Reconciliation Action Plan. The Reconciliation Action Plan is our roadmap for how we continue to work in partnership with Indigenous communities, businesses, and organizations to advance reconciliation. The plan also serves as our formal commitment to growth and continued learning as an organization. OPG's Reconciliation Action Plan is built on 5 pillars. These are the pillars of leadership, relationships, people, economic empowerment, and environmental stewardship. We are proud that we met all of our 2022 goals in the action plan, but recognize that we still have a great way to go and a lot to learn. It is very important for us to have meaningful engagement with local Indigenous communities like Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, who are the rights holders here in our region, and with other nations and communities that express interest in our ongoing operations. Another few highlights. At the request of the provincial government, OPG is also undertaking a feasibility study regarding the refurbishment of units 5 to 8 of the Pickering Nuclear Generating Station, and we continue to advance the Darlington New Nuclear Project to construct North America's first small modular reactor at the Darlington site. Our Darlington refurbishment project remains on track and on budget, and together with the advancement of the new nuclear project, these are 2 key initiatives in OPG's Climate Action Plan to achieve tangible results for the economy and the environment. Locally, OPG is also a key supplier to Bruce Power's refurbishment or major component replacement, helping to manage and process the used reactor components from the Bruce project and sharing lessons learned through both of our refurbishments. A little bit about nuclear sustainability services. Formerly the Nuclear Waste Management Division, we changed our name to Nuclear Sustainability Services to better reflect the full extent of the work that we do. Nuclear Sustainability Services does far more than just handle waste, and the name reflects our evolving strategic direction, with emphasis on waste minimization and the 3 Rs, reduce, reuse, recycle. This is aligned with OPG's climate change plan. We are strategically focused on the 3 Rs with the goal of reducing our environmental footprint. It's clear that the societal benefits of nuclear energy go well beyond electricity. Medical isotopes are produced by our nuclear operations to help save millions of lives each year all around the world. These isotopes include cobalt-60, produced at our Pickering station, and moly-99, produced at our Darlington nuclear station. These isotopes are used in diagnosing diseases and treating cancer. Throughout the pandemic, cobalt-60 was used to sterilize medical devices such as swabs, syringes, and heart valves, which provided a key line of defense for hospitals and care facilities around the world as they fought COVID-19. At our Western facility, we safely handle the low and intermediate level nuclear byproducts from Bruce Power operations, as well as the safe handling and transport from OPG's nuclear generating stations in Pickering and Darlington. At Western, we store used fuel from Bruce Power's generating stations in dry storage containers, or DSCs for short, and you can see a photo of those DSCs on the slide. Each DSC is constructed of reinforced high-density concrete, approximately 2 feet thick, with 1/2 inch thick interior and exterior steel plates. At our Western site, we employ approximately 175 people to support our operations and that of Bruce Power's. Few other quick notes about our Western facility. At OPG, safety is embedded in every facet of our operations, and our strong safety performance continues. We have more than 10 years without a lost time incident at our Western site. Incinerator upgrades were successfully completed in late 2021, providing another 15 years of clean and safe operation, reducing the volume of legacy low-level waste. And in 2022, the construction of used fuel storage buildings 5 and 6 was complete. Transportation of DSCs into the new storage buildings has begun. And just to touch on a little bit further about the Western Clean Energy Sorting and Recycling Facility, I mentioned earlier OPG's commitment to the 3 Rs, and one way to make that happen is by increasing our sorting capacity through innovation, partnering with McMaster University in Hamilton to find new innovation and technologies. Along with those innovations and technology, we required more floor space and more staff. In early 2022, OPG initiated the construction of the 42,000 square foot Western Clean Energy Sorting and Recycling Facility located at the Bruce Energy Center in Kincardine. Our facility is intended to be used as a means to volume reduce low-level byproduct that is currently being stored at NSSW. And through ongoing innovations, it's anticipated that the western site could reduce low-level byproduct stored by up to 50% over a 10-year span. The planning of the grand opening for the facility is underway and will likely take place in the spring. We're looking forward to seeing Your Worship, Mayor Craig, members of council, and staff at the opening. And once in operation, this new facility will employ approximately 25 OPG employees and represent significant investment and innovation in our Western operation. How am I doing for time?
Couple of minutes.
Okay.
Time flies when you're up there talking. I'll tell you.
It does. It's like speech time in grade 3 again. OPG remains committed to lasting solution for nuclear byproducts. The used fuel DGR being developed by the Nuclear Waste Management Organization for all of Canada, as outlined in the Nuclear Waste Fuel Act. The NWMO is currently in site selection stage of the process with a decision to be made by the end of 2024. Just to touch on environmental stewardship, I believe I have 2 slides left. OPG maintains a corporate-wide environmental management system, which is certified to the ISO 14001 standard and compliant with Reg Doc 2.9.1, the Environmental Protection Policies, Programs, and Procedures. We were recognized this year by the Wildlife Habitat Council for our wide-ranging biodiversity programs at our Western facility and received gold certification in 2021, the highest level. At Ontario Power Generation, we know our role in the Bruce County community is more than safely handling nuclear byproducts. It's about being a good neighbor. Our corporate citizenship program identifies opportunities and initiatives that support and enrich surrounding communities and organizations. To achieve this goal, our program focuses support in 3 primary areas: environmental stewardship, such as partnership with the Bruce Peninsula Bird Observatory, our support of dozens of organizations such as the Kincardine Scottish Festival, Lighthouse Blues Festival, Blues in the Schools, the Son Trade Show, and more. And equally as important, tours and presentations to the group that help educate the public, not only on the important role that NSSW plays here in the provision of clean and reliable energy, but the role that OPG plays throughout the province of Ontario. And we look forward to welcoming council and staff to our site in the spring, possibly when there's less snow and warmer weather. I'd like to wrap up by thanking you, Mayor and Council, for your time here this evening and your continued support of the nuclear industry in the region, more specifically OPG's role. And I do believe Jason Van Wart, who is our Senior Vice President of Nuclear Sustainability at Ontario Power Generation, is on the call. So I'd ask him if he'd like to say a few words and add anything that I likely missed here this evening if we have 30 seconds.
No, Brent, you didn't miss anything. I'd just say thank you to council and his worship for the opportunity to speak today. I know it's been a couple of years since I addressed council, so we take very seriously the safe operations of our nuclear waste facility on site. We are investing in reducing the footprint of waste, and we know we are a key community partner and look forward to further engagement. So I know we're short on time, and I'll stop there.
Happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Brent. Are there any questions from council members regarding the presentation? Councillor Hinchberger, please.
Thank you through you, Mayor. Thank you for coming tonight. I have a couple of questions. Could you describe a bit about how the waste sorting and recycling facility works? Are you reducing radioactive waste at the beginning by reducing packaging that goes into sites, or are you actually shipping probably low-level waste from the Bruce and or Darlington and Pickering sites here to basically pick out what is and isn't waste?
Thank you for the question, and through you, your worship, I do have a great answer for that, but Jason is the Vice President of Nuclear Sustainability Services and the President of Laurentis Energy Partners, who is our partner on this project. So since I see him on the screen, I might ask him to answer this question.
Sure, yeah, there is legacy waste stored on site. There's 10 or 11 buildings worth of waste that's been collected over the years that's been stored at site, low-level waste, to be clear. I would say in our past, we weren't as good at sorting through that waste to ensure that it met radioactive criteria requiring storage as low-level waste. So the project or the building will go through that legacy waste. We'll bring it out of the buildings at site. It'll be safely transported to the sorting building. We will sort it there, and items that are not that should not be classified as radioactive waste will be able to be removed from the process. They'll be returned to site. They can be incinerated. They can be compacted, but the overall impact will be volume reduction. And so we currently have a partnership with Laurentis and McMaster University in Hamilton, and we've had a pilot facility going for a couple of years. What we're seeing there from the waste that we remove from this legacy stream is about 50 to 60% volume reduction when you go through and look at the legacy waste. Hopefully that answers the question.
Thank you. So the clean stream of the waste ends up going into whose landfill? Is there still a landfill on the Bruce site that OPG operates?
Yeah, it wouldn't go to that landfill on the site. It would likely be either compacted or in a lot of cases, we're able to incinerate materials in our incinerator.
Just one more, but I can.
Councillor Stewart, please. We'll come back.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. Thanks for the presentation. I just need to understand, I have sort of three questions, but one of the questions is, it really sort of shocked me when it said Pickering Nuclear Station Unit 5 to 8 refurbishing study. I thought Pickering was going to close, so help me out. Is it only 1 to 4 that's closing? I mean, I'm a little bit confused here.
No, sorry, through your worship, and if Jason wants to jump in or Mark at some point, but units 5 to 8 were scheduled to close. They had reached to their end of life. A request came from the provincial government late last fall due to the province's high electricity demands to do a feasibility study on what refurbishing units 5 to 8 would look like. OPG is currently undertaking that study, and I can't remember off the top of my head when the findings are expected to be released, but to my knowledge, it is late 2023.
Thank you. Just a follow-up question. During the day, we see about 6,000 vehicles going into Bruce Power every day, either cars or trucks. It is always interested me that they produce electricity, but most of these cars and trucks are basically gasoline guzzlers. Any thought of the OPG or Bruce Power to incentivize their employees or their contracts to maybe move over to EV vehicles?
In some instances where it's permissible, a lot of these vehicles are, in some cases, hauling very heavy industrial equipment, and electrification hasn't advanced in those types of fleet vehicles. From what you would call a residential vehicle or your typical vehicle standpoint, OPG is electrifying our fleet vehicles. But from an incentivization standpoint, I'm not aware of anything that's currently on the books, but OPG is doing significant work, especially in the corridors along the 401 with our Ivy project, which is our electrical vehicle charging station project. And you will see more of that rolled out through corporate in 2023, and perhaps can incorporate some of that in our next update to you.
Councillor Hinchberger, please.
Oh, I just have.
No, we'll come back.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Does Nuclear Sustainability Services West receive any waste from OPG's Pickering and Darlington sites?
NSSW, our Western facility, does receive low and intermediate level byproduct or waste from Pickering and Darlington sites.
Councillor Stewart.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. I'm going to ask you for a commitment. I don't think you're capable of doing it, but being the host municipality, we were looking at our fleet and everything else, and we have basically gas guzzlers too. So I'm hoping that we can partner with you in the future to maybe look at converting some of our vehicles for a EV sort of type of thing for municipal use, because we could be really the beginning of sharing that knowledge between us and you to allow other municipalities to jump on the bandwagon down the road too for their EV. So you might be getting a call from us shortly to ask us for a partnership. Thank you.
Brent, Mark, thank you so much. Jason, thank you for attending our meeting this evening. We do appreciate the update and the information, and as Councillor Stewart has commented, being the host municipality, we are grateful that you've invested your time and energies here. So thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
So I'd like to invite Rick Clark to come forward for a presentation on the Blues Festival. Rick, please.
Thank you, Mayor Greg and councilors.
Excuse
At the clock.
excuse me, Rick, just a moment. Deputy Mayor.
Sorry, Mayor Craig, can I declare an interest in this? In accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act, there's a potential pecuniary interest and a conflict in so much as I sit as a board member.
Clerk, you got that recorded? Very good. Rick, welcome. You're a familiar sight here at the council chamber, and we expect no less. So
I enjoy
thanks for being here
tonight in the audience. Thank you, Mayor Greg and councilors. And the Board of Directors for the Lighthouse Blues Festival recognizes and it respects that you're currently faced with some very difficult decisions and thought it prudent, especially in view of the new councilors around the table, that I come forward and provide some background about this significant 3-day community event, one that the municipality has generously supported since 2016. The Lighthouse Blues Festival is, firstly, a music festival, presenting over 35 artists during the 3 days that were downtown. Since 2010, our first festival, we've gained a national reputation for staging first-rate professional event, attracting fans from across the province and northern Michigan. In fact, 61% of the tickets of our main stage tickets are sold to visitors to Kincardine. And we have received the Top 100 Festival and Events Award from Ontario Tourism for the last 6 years. But we're more than just music. We strive to make the festival a truly family experience by adding entertainment features like our popular Children's Zone, the British Vintage Sports Cars, Artisans Alley, and the Sunday Morning Gospel Revival, all offered to the community at no cost, free. And this free festival experience in 2023 will cost us approximately $30,000. But as entertaining as our 3-day festival is, we need to draw your attention to the economic impact we have on the municipality. Since 2010, we've hired third-party consultants to conduct economic impact studies and audience research reports. These studies have been funded in part originally by RTO7 and more recently by the Ministry of Tourism. To date, we've received 5 such studies in the last 13 years, and the data collected has been pretty consistent. Using the provincial tourism regional economic impact models, or TREAMs, these studies indicate an average spend in the region of over $2 million on a festival weekend. A significant impact is right here in our downtown. I think I got one slide ahead. A significant impact is right in our downtown, where BIA surveys are conducted the week following the festival, and they indicate that 76% of our businesses report increased sales and a 70% experienced increased foot traffic. Other important data and that I can share with you is that 68% of the tourists attending stayed overnight, and of those, 83% stayed more than 2 nights. 56% stayed in some form of paid accommodation, while 41% stayed with friends and relatives. 64% of the attendees spend between $50 to $250 a day, and the average spend per tourist party is $389. Over 86% dined in one of our restaurants, and over 66% shopped in one of our retail stores. As these numbers on the screen show, the festival is a summer destination experience for many, and it's important to note that 80% of the respondents reported that they are likely to return to Kincardine to visit on a non-festival related weekend. to experience our other tourism assets. And 37% of our visitors would consider permanent relocation to Kincardine. The data is important to keep in mind as you consider the return on your investment on the Lighthouse Blues Festival. As mentioned earlier, we have approximately 30,000 in direct expenses to stage the free Saturday Street Festival and our Sunday morning gospel revival. I know that in your proposed budget, you're already planning to spend 29,000 on Canada Day, 14,000 on the mass bands gathering, 12,500 on the pipe band parades, 3,000 on cruise nights, and 2,400 on the tall ships in August. We feel that the 30,000 free festival features that we're providing is an excellent return on your $3,000 investment. And as a not-for-profit organization, each year we direct our proceeds back to the community. In our first 2 years, we donated to the Davidson Center building project. And then in 2012, we entered into an agreement with the Kincardine District Lions as they undertook the building of their splash pad. We decided that moving forward, they would be our primary designated community organization for future proceeds. Not every year are we able to make a donation. In fact, in most years, we average a profit in the neighborhood of 5,000 to 6,000. But in 2014, we lost $7,000. 2019, we lost just under $3,000. So it's been inconsistent. Most recently, though, we were very fortunate during the pandemic to receive significant funding through our Reconnect Ontario Festival and Events, a provincial fund that was created to reestablish festival and events in Ontario, closed down because of the pandemic. That gave us a little bit of a cushion that we were able to this last year to donate to the new Kincardine all-wheel park project of the Lions by kicking off their fundraising with a $10,000 donation. The Lions recognize that that's not going to be an annual donation. Let me highlight our 2023 festival. Yes, Queen Street is under construction, but working with staff, we have pivoted to provide the free Saturday Street Shuffle, a huge loop of family entertainment. We'll feature 5 performance stages, as well as the popular children's zone in McPherson Park. We'll relocate our artisans to the boardwalk. We'll have a music workshop at the Bruce, and our Sunday morning gospel will be in Victoria Park. The only thing that we'll make use of Victoria Park that weekend. The only remaining piece to locate is our British sports cars. It's a popular feature, but we haven't as yet located a spot for them, but we're working on it. In summary, the Lighthouse Blues Festival generates tourism, which in turn supports our local businesses that provides employment. The benefits extend beyond just the downtown retailers, as local hospitality services, hotels, cottages, Airbnbs, restaurants, gas stations also benefit. The festival is a summer destination experience that draws visitors from across the province. We share our success with the community through the good work of the Kincardine District Lions Club. In recognition of the support that the community gives us, we felt that the success of the festival should be shared back with them. And that is my presentation, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Rick. Are there any questions from council regarding the Blues Festival? Councillor Blackwell, please.
Thank you. Through you. I don't really have so much of a question as I'd like to thank Rick for coming. This is certainly one of my favorite festivals to attend. I have to admit, I've never paid for a ticket, but I've always enjoyed all of the free festivals. And this really is in my opinion, something that sets Kincardine apart. I've read at least 2 different reports, tourism focused reports from other communities that have both said, we would like to have an event like the Lighthouse Blues Festival. That's what we're aspiring to. So I think it's an absolutely wonderful event that we host here in the community, and I'd like to see it continue for many, many years. I think that as a community, we invest quite a bit in one very particular type of music, which I also really enjoy, in terms of Scottish festival, but I think this is something else, and to show support for the arts community, I think is important.
Thank you, Councillor Blackwell. Thank you, Mary.
Very good. Thank you, Rick. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you have, Councillor Kavanaugh? Okay, right on. All right, so we have 6 minutes to okay, so here's the deal. If we recess now, I doubt that we can get the lead generation opportunity done in 6 minutes, can we? Okay, so then if you need to, you're able, but there will be a break, a natural break at 6 o'clock when we have that. Clerk, please, resolution for the next presentation.
So moved by Jennifer Pranger, seconded by Mike Hinchberger, that committee of the whole recommend that council approve staff's international travel with the Bruce County Economic Development Contingent at the MIPIM event as per policy GG 1.4, and that council provide pre-budget approval for the participation of the municipality's economic development officer, and further that staff be directed to fund staff's accommodation and travel through the council conference 2023 budget.
Heard the motion. CAO, would you like to speak to this, please?
I will be very brief, but we do have our colleague from the County of Bruce also in the audience, the Director of Economic Development. So Jeff is here to also answer any questions because he would have been part of the group that applied for the funding that Bruce County was successful in getting as a national application to go and attend this event. And it's very much a regional approach to trying to boost economic development and our presence, and really does hit a key niche that we are finding through conversations that we are having with our suppliers and developers in our area about what they're looking for. So because this is something that is new and was only recently requested, it requires budget approval. Additionally, it requires council's approval as well because it's international travel. So we do have a staff member who's willing to attend. But if you do have specific questions about what MIPIM is, I would direct you to Jeff.
So we won't take a question. I'm just going to ask Jeff. Jeff, could you come to the microphone and tell us briefly what this conference is and the substantive nature, what this offers to the municipality?
Sure, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you to the rest of council. MIPIM is the world's largest real estate event. So this event is held in 2 locations once a year, both in New York City and in Cannes, France, and is where approximately 30,000 real estate developers, investors, and end users are coming to look for their next projects. Bruce County identified an opportunity to be at this, and with partnership with EDAC, the Economic Development Association of Canada, they have funded our booth, a speaking opportunity at the conference, as well as an opportunity to be involved in very direct lead generation with those attending the conference.
How many delegations are going from Canada?
We don't know that number for certain yet, but usually there's only about a dozen communities that attend. We will be the only funded community to attend this.
Why is Bruce County and particularly Kincardine being asked to go?
So Bruce County has demonstrated a great value proposition for those that are there. Kincardine, of course, is part of that value proposition. This year's conference focuses on net zero. and our part in the clean energy frontier. And of course, with Kincardine being a host community to OPG and Bruce Power, really pushes that value proposition forward. And investors, especially across the European Union right now, are looking for places where energy security is good.
So this is kind of an egotistical question. Where specifically is the budget coming from to fund our? My budget?
That's what it says here.
My budget, okay.
There's portion of the council.
Oh, there we go. I know that. You never ask a question you don't know the answer for, Councillor Stewart, you know that. Are there any other questions from municipal councillors regarding this request? Councillor Prenger, please.
Thank you through you, Chair. I was just wondering about the amount that has been requested. I, of course, moved away from it now. And it was
3 to 4.
4 or 3 to 4? Okay,
3 to
thank
4.
you. That said, for travel and accommodation, our policy for things like this, of this nature, also indicate that there is per diem for food, et cetera, and that it's 150 a day that, and then food's on top of that, I think. Is that included in the 4,000? Are we gonna need to budget more on top of that for those things?
So there's a slight difference between the council remuneration for per diem. So staff are just working when they're at a conference, so they don't receive an additional per diem to attend. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but food is generally covered through the conference.
The majority of that will be, and we have budgeted approximately 3,000 to 4,000 at a county level. We're expecting it to come in slightly on the lower side for the travel and accommodations and sort of ancillary travel costs.
Are there any other questions? Councillor Stewart.
Just to remind me, since we're taking 3 or 4, let's say $4,000 out of this budget, what did we have budgeted for this in the first place?
Well, right now, that certainly is an area we can look at in the future, but I believe that overall the budget for 2023 is 30,000.
Councillor Kennedy, please.
Through the chair, I just think this is a really good opportunity and for our staff member to explore what kind of opportunities are out there, because we're a better place in Bruce County would a business want to come to, or anything than that when is Kincardine, and that's how I would feel going into a meeting like that we have the best spot. No offense to anybody in Bruce County that's in the audience, but that's how I feel about Kincardine. Thank you.
Councillor Blackwell, please.
Thank you through you. I'm also really excited about this opportunity. I think I'd like to give a little bit of kudos, I think, to the previous council, because when I think of our staff going over to France and being able to share with people that are looking for land and space that they can set up businesses, I think that there has been a lot of investment to get us ready for this. So I think that this is a really positive opportunity, and I think really building on some of the success, and hopefully we'll have some great results.
Councillor Inchberger, please.
Thank you through you, Mayor. I really look forward to seeing the trip report for this, and if it were up to me, I'd say bon voyage.
So we've heard the motion moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion? All in favor of the motion? That's carried. Oh, I'm sorry. Any opposed? Thank you, Jeff, for being here, and we will look forward to the report. This time I'd like to declare a 5-minute recess. We're going into closed session. If anyone has, do we need to adjourn? Oh, excuse me, before you go. Before you go, you can go. There's council stuff. We need a mover and seconder to perhaps, do you have moved by Councillor Blackwell and second by Councillor Hinchberger, that we adjourn from committee of the whole.
We can come back to it.
We'll come back. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. 5 minutes, so we're going into closed. Anyone who doesn't need to be here, you please enjoy the rest of your evening.
Hi, John.
We'll be back afterwards. We will.
You can hear us okay?
Yeah.
Perfect. So they're just going to take a 5-minute break and then they'll call you back.
Terrific. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome back to our regular council meeting, and we welcome
No, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna rise from close and you're gonna say your little speech that you do.
oh, rise from closed. Okay, yeah, it's right here. No, it's in.
Yeah, here. So you're gonna do that. We're gonna do the motion from close, and then we're gonna make.
You keep me so organized.
Then we're gonna make a motion to move back into control.
This one here. All right, I'd like to report that we had a closed meeting that had been held for the purpose of considering advice that's subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose regarding the Municipal Act, Human Resources matter, litigation or potential litigation, including matter before administrative tribunals, which is a human resources matter, and a position plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality regarding negotiations with the Kincardine Family Health Team. Direction was provided to staff to place a motion on the open agenda regarding section 258 of the Municipal Act item. And direction was also provided to staff enclosed regarding the human resources matter and the negotiations with the Kincardine Family Health Team. So we have a resolution from the clerk, please.
Okay, so this is moved by Rory Kavanagh, seconded by Andrea Clark, that council revoke resolution 010923, appointing Councillor Hinchberger to the Bruce Power Water Proposal Negotiation Team effective January 9th, 2023.
You've heard the motion. Any discussion? All in favor? And that is carried.
Now, if we want to go back and maybe we make a motion.
All right.
to return to committee of the whole.
So now we have a motion to return to committee of the whole.
Do it by Doug Kennedy and Beth Blackwell. So moved by Doug Kennedy, seconded by Beth Blackwell, that council move back into committee of the whole.
All in favor? That's
Yes.
carried.
Through the chair.
Yes,
Just-
Doug.
Yes, sorry, but I have to leave. I am sorry about that, but I'm anyways, I'm sorry, but I've got to take off. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kennedy. Great. I'd like to welcome Lori Fiozzi. You manager or director? You're manager of strategic initiatives. And I would like you to, this is the motion that we're going to be considering. The clerk will read it, please.
Moved by Rory Kavanagh, seconded by Beth Blackwell. The next one around the table. That committee of the whole recommend that council endorse the values identified in this report, and further that council endorse the focus areas and strategic objectives in this report and direct staff to identify actions based on these endorsed priorities, and further that council direct staff to bring back a finalized integrated strategy based on the endorsed values and focus areas and strategic objectives, including actions.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there any discussion? All in favor? No, that's premature. You didn't do the discussion. You're supposed to put your hand up. Okay. No, we're not going to do all in favor yet. Ms. Fiozzi. Lori Fiozzi. Too many.
Fiozzi.
Fiozzi. Thank you for being here tonight. We look forward to your report.
Do you want to kick it off? Sure.
So, yeah, this is a bit of a tag team effort, and I do want to thank Lori. She has put a lot of time and energy and effort into helping to compile the information that council went through at its most recent session with our consultant, Glenn Poitier. And I want to commend her for that. So it was a lot of information to try to make sure that we were capturing what it is the council was setting. And this is a really important component, and I appreciate the conversations I've had with council members before today and today about where they want to make sure they see what their vision is for this council at this time. And this is the time to make sure that we're getting it right. This isn't the end be all end all for, I would say. We're still recommending, we're coming back again to, we want to hear your information. We want to hear if you've got changes to make. But we're trying to make sure that we are capturing what it is that you see as moving this community forward, because this is very much the role of council to make sure that you are setting the priorities for the organization in order to move forward, so that we are clear as staff how that we can take action to move that along. So that's why we're trying to make sure high level, is this what council sees themselves approving for their community? So I'm going to turn it back over to not counselor, to the manager.
Great. Thanks so much, Jolene. Through you, Mayor Craig, and good evening, council. I know it's been a long evening for you, so just the purpose of the report in front of you really is to provide a draft of the focus areas and objectives and the values based on the 2 workshops that you've held, and then also obtain input. And so really, this is a stage we want to hear if council endorses or what changes you might have to the draft objectives and the draft focus areas. And in a nutshell, those changes then will help inform those overall priorities. So we're looking at the council's direction around what are your overall priorities, and then staff will come back with some actions to help achieve those priorities. Within the document, and just to kind of explain like the framework of the plan. So the focus areas are those broad areas of focus. And the strategic objectives are really what you hope to achieve. What do you hope to achieve in your term of council? And those are the 18 that are put in front of you. The actions are the how we will achieve them. What are the actions that are going to help achieve the objectives? And of course, we're not going to have all 27 actions for each objective, because that's not like capacity wise, we wouldn't be able to do that. But we'll come back with what staff recommend as some of the ones that will help us move the needle on your objectives. And so really it helps give us a sense of what are your priorities, and then as staff, we help to operationalize that. In the next edition, we'll be providing those recommended actions for those objectives with measures. And so we may not have the measures at this point, but that is going to be some of the next steps that we'll figure out what are those measures to help us measure our progress on each of the objectives. So in the workshop, the last workshop that you had, remember we had the big sheets with all your writing on it. And so you made some suggestions to the focus areas. I'm hoping you see some of your words and notions reflected in the focus areas. And I would just mention that they're interconnected. Those 4 areas, the success of one depends upon the success of another. What you do in one's going to impact the other. And so really looking at them as interconnected, and that they are revised based on the feedback from your from that session. And I would say the objectives under that are really intended to be sort of your collective vision of what you hope to accomplish. And so the objectives really are those are the 18 that are in your document. And so that's really what we're hoping that you'll see as something that will help you communicate what the priorities are that you set as a council. I don't know if you want to go through each of them or just kind of, okay, nope. So those, we have the four focus areas. They're fostering a resilient economy, planning for sustainable future, enhancing quality of life, and supporting responsible and effective government. And really, again, those are sort of like the main focus areas that have some key objectives under each of them. And I could show you an example of what that looks like for actions, but I don't have that in front of me right now. But that is just to sort of show you how it's operationalized, and staff would come back with that information.
Thank you, Ms. Fiocchi. Are there questions from council members regarding the report? Councillor Stewart.
Through you, Mayor. Thank you very much. You've done a great body of work here. I have multiple questions. I have 4 pages of questions. I'm looking around the table. We're all spent. I think it's really unfair to the director and to the public that we're going to work on strategic planning or strategic initiatives. Look at everyone's half asleep. I would recommend, I'm going to say a motion to defer this to our meeting on February the 13th when we're fresh. I don't think it's fair to the public that we're spent and we need to move as fast as possible because this needs to have some time. Thank you.
I appreciate your concern for council. I actually do. The challenge that our clerk has just offered is that'll be a planning meeting. Yeah, it is full already. So perhaps if it is, and I'm thinking that once on the 22nd, once again, CNA, there's 3 or 4 of us that aren't here. So I'm wondering about scheduling. We get into March at that time, but I know the significance that this document has with our budget to align and say, you know, these are our priorities. Is this what we're going to finance or not? Councillor Prenger, what are you thinking?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. Would a special meeting for a couple hours be most appropriate for strategic planning? It's a very intense, specific topic. It would make sense to me.
Well, it says the 13th, so I'm looking.
So the part of the jam packed would have been to address the this report in its more final state. Go ahead.
So when it says consideration, you would pass the motion tonight that you see before you. And that motion would simply not be on as a matters arising. It would be on the council agenda on the 13th. So all you'd be looking on the 13th is that motion. So that's what it means when Lori says that it be considered at the 13th meeting. So what you're talking about is bringing this entire report back and having a fulsome discussion on it. That would be very different to bring to that meeting.
Perhaps that motion might suggest to council that they provide some options about appropriate dates for council members so that, you know, I appreciate that they would set one, but we have people here who work and businesses, so it is perhaps a meeting by consent that they offer some options for a meeting times, or you might offer some suggestions to staff. You know, these timeframes work well for my schedule. Councillor Blackwell.
Thank you. Through you, I'd like to say that I think that we can have, or I think we owe the community a conversation on this sooner rather than later, because to me, this is what will help us make choices when the final budget comes before us. I also think that we also need to be aware that a special meeting can have special costs because it's not part of our regular council schedule. So there's also extra elements to that for the community.
Somebody make a motion. Give the council some something to consider. Deputy Mayor Clark.
Thank you, Mayor, through you. I'm just wondering if Clerk Lori could sort of guide us with regards to dates where this would be accommodated or could be accommodated into the council. You said 13th can't.
I would say if you're looking to put it in a regular through you, Mayor, into a regular meeting, you're looking into March.
Counselor Stewart.
You know, unfortunately, we didn't really time this meeting very well, and I think this is a very important, and I know that the manager has done a lot of work, and I don't want to send her off to do all the action plans and do all the necessary things until we actually have an opportunity to go through this. When we looked at the original, basically, planning, strategic planning, it took us almost a year. So we do need to spend some time because what's happened is that this is basically what we think as a council. You really need to do this outside also. I mean, just to give you some example, what we did last time when we did planning, because we do have a strategic plan from 2000 to 2025 that was approved by us, correct? Yeah. And, you know, and during that, you know, it was based on council and senior management interviews, stakeholder interviews, conversation circles, frontline staff, staff surveys, bang the table, community, business and committee workshops and community surveys. So you can see there was a bulk of work that almost took us a year. So I'm just thinking that I'm sorry to do this, but I don't care if we have a meeting later on this week, and I'm not sure, Jennifer, we can actually do that because there has to be some notice. But I think we can even do a Zoom meeting. I think we need to be very fresh when we do this, because I don't want to send off the manager with expectations that we are not really comfortable, and then it comes back and we start changing everything. And I don't know about you, but I'm spent. You know, I'll be lucky to get through the rest of the meeting. So I think to be fair to the public and to us, if I make a motion, we're going to CNA on next Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Is that correct? Or the following week? So the next meeting is because we get bounced on the 20th, it's the Wednesday. Okay, the 22nd. So could we, or I know through you, Mayor, I know you have a full day meeting usually with the county on the Thursday. You know, help. You know, do we defer it and maybe have a quick meeting on the Friday for a couple hours, a Zoom meeting that we can really provide some quality feedback? So my recommendation is maybe we postpone this and have a Zoom meeting for a couple hours on the Friday, which I'm not sure what the date is, but
Jillian, please.
We do have to set a date for even at least 2 more budget meetings. So you're going to have a presentation with respect to council's direction from the last budget meeting to go through and receive information about potential reductions in operations costs. We're trying to schedule that meeting, and that one doesn't seem to be available until the end of February already, which will take us to, and I would expect we're going to have a subsequent meeting after that before council will be ready to pass a budget, which we will be well into March. The hope was that these 2 things do align, right? That you're getting alignment with the budget direction based on what the strategic plan setting and goal setting is. And Councillor Stewart, you're correct. There's a corporate strategic plan. The idea was to refresh this and then go through a more comprehensive process so that by the end of that 2025 date, council has a whole new strategic plan that they're going to set. So this is meant to be, let's check in, make sure that we understand where this council wishes to be at the very start of the term. Instead of waiting until middle of the term, we want to make sure that we understand the direction the council wants to proceed with. And this is the process by which we're trying to get that information from you. So if you want to have a special meeting about it to discuss, I think you're into March.
a follow-up.
Councillor Stewart.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Even if we approve this tonight, there's a huge body of work that needs to be done. When were you planning to have that come back to us? Because, you know, this is only directions and we approved some of the priorities, but then there's action plans and there's aligning. And I mean, when were you planning to have that come back to us to even approve it? I mean, I think that, we haven't done a very good job of planning the timing here. And I'm really worried about not spending quality time on this. I'm sorry that I just think that this could interfere with what we have and where we want to go directionally for the rest of the year. And I want to spend the time on it. I'm sorry. And I would defer this. We just have to find the time then.
Counselor Steinoff Gray, you had a question first, and then Counselor Hinchberger. It's gone, isn't it? No.
It's okay. I'm actually gonna just say, I looked at the high level report. I don't disagree that it requires due diligence and attention. I guess the only thing for me is nothing jumped out at it necessarily that I was blatantly against that's in this report. But I do think it goes hand in hand with the budget. And perhaps instead of choosing one date that works for us, I know we had that series of dates available to us. It means we're going to select two dates and try to adhere to those to get it all in. But, I'm assuming this is the summation of our feedback based on the workshop we did going from table to table and comprising all of those notes. So I guess for me, there's a part of me that feels like we put a lot of input into that activity. I know I put a lot of due diligence into that activity. So there was nothing at this that stood out to me as not necessarily in line with the directions that were provided on that particular day. I don't want to put words in my fellow counselors' mouths, so I'd like to hear some feedback on whether other people share that feeling.
Counselor Hinchberger, please.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. I was thinking that a couple of incumbent counselors would have been familiar with the previous integrated strategy. And most of the new counselors who did their homework before the election actually were pretty familiar with it as well. We had 2 strategic planning workshops, the second of which involved 2 hours of basically working off the existing integrated strategy and marking it up. What we've have in our possession now, and I think on a grade, I would say it's 80% of the way there, but it's been in the possession of council's hands for 4 days. And if you were asking me tonight, is it 80% good for them to take the next step and start to hash out specific actions for it? And at the same time, in parallel, we could fine tune some of the strategic objectives. I would be in favor of that, but I'm not really sure what the ask is about whether this is like cast in stone, we're running this with no further revision, or is it more like approval in principle? That's what.
Counselor Blackwell, please.
Hi, thank you. Through you, Mayor. I have lots and lots of thoughts. The first one is that, and this may assuage my fellow councilors a little bit, is I do not want to endorse this report tonight, but I do want to have a discussion and encourage our very capable manager of strategic initiatives to come back to us next week with some of that feedback. I don't think it's ready to move to actions yet. And I don't think that that's a result of anything that the strategic initiatives department has done. I think that's because we need to continue to fine tune what we want to see. So on that note, because we haven't had a motion to defer, I'm just going to launch into it, if I may.
You can.
Okay, so I have the first thought I was going to say is the vision within.
Excuse
nope,
me,
okay.
I'm going to exert some executive privilege here, and I need to ask council for a motion to suggest a particular that we have a special meeting, and leave it to staff to come back with a date. It'll be a date that is conducive to all of us. I appreciate the comments, but once again, I'm sitting here looking at the clock. We will have our opportunity to get into it. I acknowledge that our closed sessions were fulsome and it has extended the time. And I think we can do better if we just allow staff to propose a date where we can all sit down and develop the plan that's going to guide us for next 4 years. I'm waiting for a council member to make a motion. I gave the debate rather than the motion, Councillor Stewart, so. Councillor Steinhoff Gray.
I am suggesting a motion to move this to a special meeting so that we can give it the attention it's due and come back.
Based on staff's recommendation, right?
Based on staff's recommendation always.
Right on. A seconder for that? Councillor Stewart, is there any more discussion about that? All in favor? Carried. County Council update, there's actually, can I talk about our meeting today? Three things that I'd like to bring to your attention. We've received an invitation to the Chamber of Commerce breakfast with the mayor Wednesday, March 29 at the Bruce Steakhouse, 7:15 in the morning. Any or all of you are invited to attend. March 29, 7:15 at the Bruce Steakhouse. County Council passed its budget last week, 8% increase. 8% on the county budget is $4.5 million. 8% on our municipal budget is $1.4 million. Significant difference in the value with the same percentage. Also today, we were pleased to entertain Mayor Mark Getz from South Bruce, he and the CAO and a couple of representatives from NWMO came to update us on the proposed deep geologic repository project down there. They once again affirmed their intent to have a community referendum. They just offered information. Yes, Councillor Blackwell.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but procedural, we had a seconder for moving that on and off the agenda, but I don't know that we ever actually voted on it.
Thank you for paying attention, though. That's good for you. Good for you.
I was asking about a procedural thing. I don't remember coming out of close and having a motion to revoke my motion back in January.
We did do that.
See, I'm lost already. That's why I don't want to do this.
Next on the agenda is
About your,
Councillor Hinchberg.
very quickly about your, we're in 7.3 alpha, is that correct? Sorry, the Roma Council update / there. I just had a question about, if you could, you talked about there about the excellent panel discussion with rural councils and staff about perspectives on the asset management plans. And I was just curious, like literally a paragraph, what were some of the key points that you were hearing?
The key points, number one is how asset management has to become totally integrated with all aspects of council work itself, particularly policy development, particularly budget, particularly service delivery, those sorts of things. Asset management is on your bedside table, you've got your favorite novel, but you also got your asset management plan. You read both of them all the time. They go hand in hand. Councillor Stewart and then Blackwell.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. I noticed that after reading your, and thank you very much for approving that budget, that the county council decided to give $50,000 in 2023 for the funding program for the MIC, but you're going to withdraw it in 2024. Is there any reason behind that? So you will only be supporting the MIC for one more year?
The intent of the motion is to affirm the funding for MIC this year. There have been some ongoing conversations about the long-term value of MIC. So we haven't denied their funding for 2024. but they are under some pressure in this next year to demonstrate more fulsomely, you know, the $585,000. Where is that cost saving? So we haven't terminated them, but we are allowing them to hear the conversation. Councillor Blackwell, please.
Thank you. Through you, you mentioned in your report that you received a response from the Honorable Todd Smith for the Minister of Energy, but what was that response? Was it just we've acknowledged your?
Actually, no, one of the comments we had was regarding the condominium development on, we visited it on our road to occupancy could not, well, for an extent, we left the bus. Part of the conversation was occupancy could not be taken up in those condos because there was no power to them. So there was an issue with like direct hydro supply. So we said, you know, we want to develop what's going on. And before we got home, our director of infrastructure and development had received a call from his staff saying, yeah, we're on it. It does make sense to talk to them. Consent agenda, there's a consent agenda. Here are does anybody have any questions about any items on the consent agenda? Recommended bylaws. Clerk, please. We don't, oh, that's all in there. Okay, right on. Okay. No confirmatory bylaw. Oh, we're just adjourning committee of the whole. Moved by
Doug Kennedy, or no, not moved by Doug Kennedy, moved by Mike Hinchberger, seconded by Beth Blackwell, that council adjourn at 8:36 PM. Or pardon me, committee of the whole adjourn at 8:36 PM.
all in favor? Carried. Now the confirmatory bylaw.
Now we're going to do matters arising from.
Matters arising.
So moved by Bill
I
Stewart.
swear, I'm trying to get through the agenda. I am.
Moved by Bill Stewart, seconded by Jennifer Prenger, that council approve staff's international travel with Bruce County Economic Development Contingent at the MIPIM event as per policy GG 1.4, and that council provide pre-budget approval for the participation of the municipality's economic development officer, and further that staff be directed to fund staff's accommodation and travel through council conference 2023 budget.
Any discussion? Oh, Councillor Prenger?
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Just something I didn't think of when we talked about it before, sorry. Will we receive some kind of report on what happens and is there a timeline for how long that takes after they return, that kind of thing?
Next day. I'm not sure that we have a policy regarding that, but that's an excellent policy idea. Seriously, you know, those are the sorts of things that council asked for. I could ask our CAO to make sure that we receive a report regarding Ms. Leslie's trip. Go ahead.
Sorry, just to clarify, I was assuming that something like that would happen, that is standard practice. I just wanted some clarification. I in no way am trying to argue against the motion.
There have been numerous instances where councillors and staff have been someplace and you never hear anything about it. So I wrote a report. Councillor Blackwell.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I think that through you I would like that kind of policy to also be applicable to council when council is attending things using that same conference budget.
All in favor of the motion? Carried. Clerk, please.
This is moved by Amanda Steinhoff Gray, seconded by Bill Stewart. That council approve the recommendations contained in the consent agenda dated February 6, 2023, and direct staff to proceed with all necessary administrative acts.
Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Council announcements, anything, Councillor Hinchberger?
Thank you through your mayor. February is Black History Month in Canada, and it's a good opportunity for the entire population to reflect on the contributions that Black people in Canada have made to our culture, and also to reflect on racism that still exists and needs to be eradicated. So I've noticed that the municipality has made a couple of social media posts, and the manager of strategic initiative has identified some future plans that they have for the rest of the month of February. So that's looking forward to seeing those things and learning more.
Councillor Prenger?
Thank you. I have nothing today.
Councillor Stewart, there's a wild picture of you circulating. Is that, oh, there we
And
go.
there's even a more wild picture, and I don't want to take a lot of time because people are very tired, but there's a lot of people to thank, including the staff and everything, and all the volunteers and all the organizations. A few of you I saw at the Winterfest. It was a great event. Even with the weather and the closure of 21, they pulled it off and everything. I thoroughly enjoy it. And I was sort of lucky to have the mayor there to basically take a photograph. And the only thing I could comment is at the very end, there was a hockey game between the OPPs and the firefighters. In the last minute and a half, thank God that the OPPs won, because people were talking about a shootout. And I was thinking a little worried for the fire guys, because with the OPPs, they might not quite understand what a shootout is. So the whole weekend was absolutely fantastic. Thanks to everyone. Thanks. And I'm hoping they'd even have a bigger and better one next year. Thank you.
Well displayed. Councillor Blackwell.
Thank you. Through you, I wanted to remind folks that Valentine's Day is coming up in the public libraries. For those of us who have small kids, the public library has free craft making supplies, card making supplies, where they will deliver a card to a local senior. So both the Tiverton and Kincardine branches have that. And also that February 18th is the Share the Love fundraiser that I think Rory was going to mention, but that I will be attending. And also my team is still very small for the coldest night of the year walk. So I'm just watching. Please come and join me.
Councillor Steinhoff-Gray.
I was just gonna also echo what Councillor Bill Stewart said. The Tiverton Winterfest was absolutely phenomenal. They did a great job. They modified on the fly based on the curveballs the weather sent them. And I think it actually just shows how much that community is willing to rally around things. They really make a genuine effort to they made sure there was activities for seniors. They made sure there was activities for our young children. They made sure there was activities for youth. I just thought it was a really encompassing event. And I just wanted to say it was fantastically done. Thanks, everyone.
Councillor Kavanaugh.
Thank you very much. And through the chair, I want to say congratulations to Erica Everingham and her Girls Who Game Club at Elgin Market Public School. They're one of 3 teams that competed from Canada at the Microsoft Minecraft Education Esports event. They had a very successful weekend, and they won an award for team communication.
Deputy Mayor. CEO? Oh, he's gone.
Oh, I was just going to say, Councillor Hinchberger, that was going to be my update, but I appreciate you bringing that forward.
Clerk, please.
Moved by Rory Kavanaugh, seconded by Amanda Steinhoff-Gray, that the bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of Corporation of Municipality of Kincardine, February 6, 2023, be deemed read first, second, third time, finally passed and numbered as bylaw 2023 118.
All in favor? Carried. Adjournment.
Moved by Jennifer Prenger, seconded by Beth Blackwell, that this council adjourn at 8:44 p.m.
Favor? All in favor, yeah.